Hey, how are you? I'm getting myself set on up in here. I'm so excited about this next hour and what we're going to be able to do. So I'm going to let people kind of see. Matter of fact, me, myself, I promised to be able to share this as a watch party in a few different areas. So I'm going to do that. Hey, Courtney. Hi, Ebony. I am so excited about today for so many reasons. It's the New Year's Eve. This is something that I do, like this party that we're going to do tonight. Hey, babes, this is something that I do every single year and get really excited about. And boy, I am like on fire about tonight, excited about bringing people on into it. Last year, I did a live. I didn't really talk about how to do it, but last year I did a live that showcased my daughters being able to do it. So if you're tuning into this and you have a child, I think it's excellent to be able to share with them, you know, how it is to do this. So therefore, being a young kid, they learn how to call things to action to them. They're not just necessarily out here with things and no goals and not understanding how to do them. And so me and my daughter right now, we're just talking about their boards from last year and what they completed and what they're going to do for their new boards. So I'm just going to say hey to people as they're coming on in. I see Tracy, I see Sherry, I see Carrie Ann. Hey, babes. Hey, Benitra. I see you all that's coming on in. Tonight, we're going to have an amazing time. And then also too, there are some free things in which I'm going to be giving on out, and also too ways in which to be able to catch this as a as the actual replay too as well. So what you can expect tonight is really an education series on a vision board, how to use it, how to get it to be able to be used over time, and how to get through it. Because me, myself, in working with people on them, I find that sometimes people have just put things on the board. It's great to be able to do it, but not necessarily known how to be able to call it to them. Hey, Tanya. So what I am going to do tonight, when we get started, I'm going to introduce myself in a second. I'm letting people kind of roll on in. What we are going to do this evening, you are actually going to be creating your vision board. As you're creating, hey Carmen, as you're creating this board, if you have questions, so I'm going to be explaining component pieces, what I want you to do. If you have questions, please type them. I am here to be able to answer them too as well. And again, there will be an option at the end of this. If you want to have this on replay, you want to play this back, you're like, oh my God, that was great. I want to be able to use that for future reference. For myself, there will be a way for you to get this on the replay. So let me introduce myself. My name is Trayce Madre. And it's like right after there is where I kind of pause, is because it depends on what portion in my life and where that title kind of has been. I've been a 20-year entrepreneur. And hey, Alicia, 20-year entrepreneur and celebrity stylist in wellness, beauty, and most have not understood or know my background is in sales and marketing and also psychology, and I am also a certified life coach. And I used to have a company called I Mentor Branding where I was only helping businesses. So I would help those businesses to be able to come off of the floor and go on out and be the best brick and mortar, online, whatever that business needed to be. But I always coupled in personal development into those, and that became a staple for me. And so in deciding to bring this business back, as things have transitioned for myself, is decided to bring this business back. I'm offering 3 levels of coaching. So I'm offering personal development coaching by itself, which this was not before. You could get me as a personal development coach. You can get me as a weight loss coach. And you can also too get me as a personal development business coach, because I do not want to take those things apart. I am so excited about being able to bring these programs back, even though if you ask me or ask others, somebody said, do you really think that they've been gone because you've been doing them for so long? I was like, I guess not, but I guess the formalities of them make this amazing for me. So I've been able to, if you've taken some time to read about me a little bit, I've been able to call things to myself. As I first started on out in business, I always tell people I started out that very first year not doing anything in my business. And then also really, really struggling all the way on up to now being able to create a 7-figure brand and then coach other people on which how to be able to do it. That's crazy. So let me tell you what you're going to need tonight. Okay. You are going to need a board. You are going to need markers, glue, to be able to put things on your board. Or some people have been talking to me and stopping me. It was like, hey, I want to cork mine on off. I'll talk to you about that. You can have push pins too as well. Some magazines. That's it. And then also too, hi Desi. Then also too, a journal. So I was stopped today in the gym and she was like, well, if I'm doing a board, what do I need a journal for? And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about like why a journal is needed. Okay. So in first starting, how many of you all, let me know below. I want you to type me the number 1. How many of you all that are on here have done a vision board before? So type me a number 1 below if you've done a vision board. If you have, I've even now seen people now are doing Pinterest board, vision boards. But if you've ever done one before, type me a 1. And there's always this lag that's below. The reason why I want to know if you've done one before, all right, Miss Tanya, the reason why I want to know you've done one before, because I really just kind of want to understand my audience and who it is that I'm talking about. Great. So I pray that those have been amazing successes for you. Usually at the end of every year for myself, I always go back to my board because I have mine right here from the beginning of 2018. I always go back to my boards and I go, how much of that did you get accomplished? Much of that did you get done? So how many of you all do that? Do you go back on New Year's Eve and then take a look at the board again? If you do that, I want you to type the number 2. If you go back at the end of the year to do an assessment to see what you've done. So let me know if you do that. Type the number 2. Type the number 2 if you go back. Okay, great. That you go back and do an assessment, which is absolutely great. So in order to be able to do a vision board, and if you're not able to put a 2, that's perfectly okay, because I'm going to teach you the components of them right now. I'm going to let you see mine. It is very important to be able to go back, because that board right there is you calling to action all things that you want to have happen. And it's your checks and balances to be able to see. Say, for instance, you said you wanted to get out of debt. Were you able to get out of debt? How far are you? Did you pay attention to that on an everyday basis? Like, what happened for you during that process, right? So I'm going to show you mine because I'm going to give you some component pieces and I want to give you a visual. At first I struggled between. I was like, because normally on New Year's Eve I do my own. And I was like, do I want to do mine here now or no? I don't. The reason why I chose not to was to be able to guide through and answer any questions anybody had of their board. So to give you an example, here is mine from last year. And we don't have to get all of my individuals, but just to be able to show you what that looked like. And if you look at this and the way in which it's devised out, I know I was working with one of my clients the other day, is order is to me the mother of everything, is literally sitting down and saying where I'm going, where I'm coming from, and then where it is that I'm going. So order is really, really important when you want to think about your vision board. And now, let me stop and say this. What I am doing is teaching you how to do it from a personal development area. There is multiple ways to do it. So what you're doing is learning my way, and especially too when I work with my clients, how it is that I share with them how to do their vision boards. So first and foremost for me is order. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper right now, I want you to write down some categories, and I'll explain to them in a second. I want you to start writing down some categories that you want to focus on in 2019. And it's going to start explaining out the board. Like, to give you an example, for me, it was my health, my own personal self, my network, my spiritual relationship with God, and then also my business. So those were my core categories that I was like, you know what? For me in 2018, I want to make sure of what they are. So I want to give you a few minutes right now just to write out. Let's do your categories. What are the categories in which you want to focus on for your next year? Is that finances? Is that personal relationships with others? Personal relationship with yourself? Is it your business? Do you want to start a new business? Do you have a major project that needs to get done in your home? Think about those categories. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes because this is a working vision party tonight. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. And me, myself, guess what how I am going to participate. I'm going to actually, in that 2 minute time frame myself, I'm going to write down my categories. So I want you to really think about it. Now, when you're thinking about your categories, because I'm going to start that 2 minutes shortly. When you think about your categories, think about things that you're really going to do for the duration of the year. So don't put down something like, to give you an example, if you're going to put health and wellness on here, then we have to be able to load up your health and wellness for the year. So make sure when you're putting your categories down, there are things that you can do throughout the year. So you have 2 minutes to be able to write out your categories.
So you can be confident you're ready for whatever business comes your way.
Hi, Amanda. If you are just coming on in, what they're doing right now is writing out their categories for their vision board.
For a limited time, pick your play at May event. Pick all you can play activities or pick unlimited arcade days. Only $19.95 all day, every day. Whatever you choose, you just can't lose at Main event. Hurry, offer it soon.
Get ready for the biggest party of the year. New Year's Eve with Steve Harvey, live from Times Square.
It's the most fun you can have without leaving your house.
Don't miss Sting, Kenan Thompson, Robin Thicke, Florence and the Machine, Jason Aldean, and many more.
Say goodbye to 2018.
New Year's Eve with Steve Harvey, live from Times Square.
So we have about 1 more minute where we are writing out, if you are just tuning on in, we are writing out our categories that's going to go on our board. So what are those categories that you want to focus on for 2019? What are the categories?
We finish the cooking process by putting it in the sauteed pan that has the sauce. So the sauce is the marry.
It's funny for me, I'm looking back from my last year board and I see I've actually added a category. Something that I want to work on. And keep in mind, these things that you're doing, they're near and dear to you, no one else. This is everything about you. There's no right or wrong answer. Even if you have one category that you're like, this is something that I've been struggling with, I've been, frustrated with, or even two, let me tell you this, it does not have to be something that you're fixing. It could be something that you're taking to another level. Like, I've done all of this in this area, I'm looking to elevate. Okay, now we're at the 2 minute mark. Once you have your categories, if you have your magazines, I had a brain freeze for a second. If you have your magazines, what you want to do when you're thinking about putting together a vision board, you want to start to cut out pictures. Now, let me tell you about your pictures from a personal development standpoint. What you want to do is make sure that the pictures in which you cut out, they make you feel a specific way. So, to give you an example, if you go past, say for instance you want a new car, right? But the picture of the car that you have does not make you excited when you see it. Like it's drab in its color. It does not make you feel. Now keep in mind, this has everything to do about how you feel. If it does not make you feel like that is the car that I'm going to get, don't use the photo. That's very important because we're going to talk about some things about what you use and how to use them and how to transition them. So it is important of the photo. So let me tell you the reason why. Everything that you use needs to be something that when you see it, if you're having a bad day, you're frustrated, things are not going your way, things are not the way that you see them, when you go to that board, it immediately changes your state. And people say, what is a state? Your state of mind. So say for instance, if you're about to do this board right now and you are very frustrated and this just isn't the time and everything that's coming through your mind is not in a great place, you should not do your board at that time frame. You want to do it when your state is clear, when you're in your highest level of happy, when you're really excited is when you should do your board. When you have that level of excitement that's there with the pictures that call to action to you, excitement, guess what? It will help to change your state immediately. Does that make sense? If somebody that it doesn't, I want you to type below repeat. If you're like, what does that mean? I'm going to expound a little bit, but if you don't, just say repeat. It is imperative when you are doing this exercise. And again, we're doing it from a personal development standpoint because we want to train ourselves. You're training your brain, you're training your mind right now to call to action what it is that you desire. So you make sure that state in which you're doing in the board is something that you're going to remember. Then also too, every picture that you put on there has to match that happy state. The reasons why that is absolutely imperative when you're doing it from a personal development standpoint is because what we don't understand, and I love to tell this to my team, is that nothing in our lives happens. It's not just a happening. So say for instance, you're saying, I want to lose weight, right? It's not just going to happen because you want to lose weight or you put up the picture that says, I have a smaller waist or I want to wear a smaller size. There's a series of actions that happens in between there that gets you to that smaller size, right? So every single time in which you see this thing, it has to make you excited to go and remember that place, that day that you said this was very imperative for me to be able to do. So now what I want you to do, and some people have told me that they have already cut up their pictures, like they were really ready for today and they had their boards. What I want you to do right now is do a picture analysis. Okay? In doing your picture analysis, I want you to look at every picture and see what state, like right now, if you're listening to this and you're really, really excited right now, does that picture make you look that way? I'll tell you for me, on my board, one of my areas was weight loss and the food. I had made one decision to go in my food in one direction, and then I changed it. And every time I would go back to there where I was really, really frustrated in regard to my food, the picture on the board didn't match the goal. So what I had to do was actually go in and change the photo. So that's what I'm telling you. It's really important. So let's take a look at your pictures right now. Scroll them on out, put them out in front of you, and I want you to see, do these pictures call that high level of energy? Does it change your state and make you really, really excited and want to do whatever they are in your categories? Now, some people, I'll say this. Some people say, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen at the same time. I lost my whole train of thought. This is why I don't like things in front of me when I'm actually working. I like to move them on off. I forgot my train of thought of where are we going. So basically what I was saying was your categories are important. Your pictures are important. Your state of mind of where you are is going to be important too as well. In the event that you find, I know what I was going to say. In the event that you find that some of these pictures are not okay, take them out now. Okay, so we're not going to use them. In the event that they are not going to keep you in that state, we're not going to use them. What I was going to share is some people like to put on their boards, not just pictures. Maybe it's something that they've made, or it's an actual felt piece of something that makes them really, really excited. They like to put on the board. I'll share with you one of mine so you can get an idea of what I'm saying. For me right now, I went into a size in which I really didn't want and desire to be in. When I got into that size, I was making myself feel some specific way, and I just didn't. Now I've been able to see some of these older photos of myself, and there's this dress. I love the shape of the dress. It's a smaller waist and it has a dress. So what I've done is I've actually went on in with some tooling and made me a little dress in that shape, because that, when I see that, it makes me think. As soon as I see that, it's making me think about that dress that I was able to wear that makes me really, really happy. So every time I go into the fitness area on that board, when I go into that fitness area, I'm going to look at a piece that looks like a dress. So you do not just have to use photos. But again, and I see some people just coming on, but again, whatever you use has to keep you in that happy space. Okay? So now when you see your pictures, so now you have your pictures, you have your categories of where you're going to be going. Then what you're going to do is create that order. Remember in the beginning, which I shared with you, order is extremely imperative in life in general. Nothing just happens to us. It's literally what we say that we desire, and it's the series of actions that we put behind it, but we have to be able to see it through. Okay, so I'm going to grab my board again. What I want you to do in your board is sit down and draw out your sections. So I don't know how many categories in which you have. For me right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 categories. On here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I have 6 categories, and on here I had 5. So what I did was, in order to be able to create that order, is I drew different colors of lines. What does that look like for you? I know one of my clients, for her in her business, being that it was retail, she went on in and did like these jewels around in a specific area. So that was her vision for what it was that she wanted in her boutique. And those jewels, every time she saw it, even though it wasn't in her boutique yet, the jewel made her realize, like, I know I don't see the jewel here in the space, but these jewels make me feel that way. So for me, it was the squiggly lines. And I will explain to you what that meant to me. I felt like in 2017, when I was coming into here, there were so many different twists and turns in which I was making mentally that I wanted them all to eventually start to be a little bit more ordered. So for me, I used the squiggly lines to show where I was coming from and how if I fixed everything in each individual area, I would be able to start seeing straight lines. Now, that was me. So I'll ask you, what does it make you feel like? Are you the type of person that likes everything in an order? Like if these were 6 in an order, would you want to draw a line down them and then the top and then keep them that way? You make the determination of what that means to you. But again, I want you to think about what works and what makes you happy when you see it. This year, because it's a personal share to get you to kind of think. This last year, 2017, like this board still, as I'm looking at it, I know why I put everything on the board in which I did and how I did it. Like I'm even kind of get chills about it because one of the things that I was really excited about is I finished. You see how large this board is? Everything on the board, I completed everything. And the board definitely made me feel the way that it did each time. Whereas of this year's lines for me are not so squiggly because I did have to make twists and turns to get to where I wanted. However, I am there. I'm definitely where I desire to be. So this year I'm using textures for my boards, which is the reason why I'm not doing it right now too. I was like, I wanted jewels. I wanted some feather. I wanted that dress. I really wanted to get a bit more visual this year. And even too, if there was times, because I know that there's some areas that are going to be quite a hurdle for me to get to. So even if I had to come to the board and actually touch something to help me remember that happy that I had, I have to be able to do that. So what is it for you? And I do know some of these things in which I'm saying to you right now, you probably have never even really thought about. So for me, when I work with my clients, I get them to think on that level. Like, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? What colors draw things to you? They all mean something to you. So when we usually sit down and we work, we figure out what's your personal things that are going to help you get everything completed on this board. Okay? So write those out. Now, if I'm calling to some things that you're like, oh God, now that she done told me that, I want to have some time, that's fine. That's why I love the fact that I did this on a live where I couldn't see you. I didn't choose to do it on a Zoom. So therefore you can make the choices on what you want to do with your board. After you finish, you want to affix them. Once you got how you're actually going to put it together, you have your categories, you have your pictures. Then you want to figure out how you want to do your affixings to your board. Now, glue, hot glue guns, and things of that nature are very permanent. If you feel that there are pieces within your board that you may have to put on out and you may need to recall, say for instance, it's a work in progress. I do work with some people sometimes where we do these vision boards in quarters. This could be the January, February, March board. Then there's an April, May, June board. You know, for me, I tend to do more of a full year, but it all depends on how a person can call to action themselves. Like, what makes you do it? Is it hard for you to see something in a 12-month period? Do you not see that? Are you someone that doesn't do a lot of planning? See, there's no right or wrong. That's the beauty part about this. There's no right or wrong, but you have to be able to be honest with yourself at that moment to say, do I really plan? Can I plan out a whole year and stick to it? If not, do quarter boards, do monthly boards. Whatever it is that you need to do to get it done, that's what you want to do. And you probably haven't heard that before as well, but I find that that's what helps people get to the end. I'll tell you, in the beginning of me doing these, I was never able to see a board all the way through for the year. I wasn't. I started in quarter boards. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And then I was able to start seeing myself to go. As I started to train myself with being able to, like right now, I'm sitting here with my calendar here. There's a calendar. Everything has its place. As I became more orderly in the regular everyday life, I then in brain format could plan out a full year and actually really stick to it and keep going. So think about that. What works for you? So when you start to affix them, you think about glue versus push pins. Some people use cork boards. Yes, quarter boards. Good. That's great. I will share with you, Tanya, I do quarter boards in business. But my life, it has the mass goal for the business, but when I'm trying to get things done, I work in quarters, and I actually work them backwards. So if you remember in October, that was my first quarter of the year. So if y'all saw me lose that weight, do all of whatever, that was my first quarter of the year. Actually, I'm moving into the second quarter because I realized that was good for me to be ahead. The way that I like to work with myself, I like to be ahead of things. I don't like to be right on that pace. So that's something that as I started to do these, because there's an extra component piece in here too. As I started to do these, I learned these about myself. So for me, where I work with you as a coach is to really help you design what works for you, because what works for you is not for everybody. So yeah, I see if that's going to work for you, please do it. Once you figure out the board, figure out too, is it push pin? Is it glue? For me, it was glue this year. And let me explain to you the reason why I used glue this year and why you need to make this as a decision. I used glue because I was like, some of these things on here really have to stay. You know, like some of these things have to stay. I don't want them to come on off. You said this is what you desired. This is where you were going. So why keep swaying? Because that's what I learned that I was doing in my quarter boards is I would be taking things on and off. But I was like, no, all of these are imperative for your next level. You got to get them done. So I used glue. Now, for you using the pitch pen, maybe if you wanted to go on up on the board and do them for a specific time frame, you can push up your ideas and then take them back down. So that part is up to you. But again, there is no right or wrong answer. Don't ever, that's why I didn't want to do these, is we could all see each other and see our boards and see what we were doing, because it really should be about you, and you want to be able to make the board work. You want to be able to make the board work for yourself. Okay? So after you finish your board, and I'm so excited, I will share like a photo of what how I've grown. So I don't know why I'll be tossing these things away. That was not a good idea. I'm going to keep this one, and then I'm going to compare it when I get to 2020 of where it is that I came from and how far it was that I grew, because that's what's important, is getting to next level, right? That's how you do it. That's how you take yourself on. So once you've done it, make it visually aesthetic for yourself. For me, I love colors. Yes, Tanya said the quarter board leads to the mass board. Yes. This is the mass board, and then you have small quarter boards that actually call to action the mass board. Yes, do you see how this could be a fun project for yourself? That you really like, man, now I see. Even too, when I've worked with people, they'll go and we get these done, and then I'm calling to action in their sessions. Like, I know what's on your board. I don't know when I work with you, I know what's on your board. So it's like, hey, are we speaking to this? Are we speaking to that area? You'll be shocked how, like, oh my God, like now I'm actually getting things accomplished and done because I understand how to use the board. I understand how to make it work for myself. So once you're done with your board, okay? Once you are done with your board, out of sight is out of mind. Your board should be plastered somewhere where you are all the time. For me, I'm in my office. This was back here on my wall, so I can go look at it. Now, let me give you the calls of action that you are to do with your board. Once your board is complete, you want to put it in a visual area where you can get to it. That's number one. Number two, you want to look at your board every single day. Yes, every single day you want to get to it. If you have to, I've even started to make a little exercise out of it myself with my coffee to come on in down in the morning and be quiet and kind of look and stare at my categories. Like the things that I was planning for the day, are they in my categories? Am I being intentional about this stuff, right? It also too will help you. Like, there were some things in which this year I decided I wanted to do in business, right? Well, when I went to my board one morning, I was like, that don't fit the vision. Like, what it is that you're doing right now is really not what you said. Is this really something that's part of your design, or is it an emotional decision? And I was able to realize that I was just making an emotional decision. And then as I kept pushing for it, and then I got to a place, those who have been following me see I've made a huge shift. I do multiple things in my business, but I've done a huge shift that has like changed my life in so many different ways. And I was becoming very nervous about being able to make that decision, but I had to stay on the board. Like, the board says this. The board says create career with freedom. So as I was trying to make these additional changes with something that I was really doing, my board said, and that was me and my happy, and that's what I wanted. My board said, create the vision with freedom. But the new business decision that I was about to make, pre-making the board's decision, it did not support the goal. And had I had not had this board at that time frame, I'm sure I would have made the other decision because it was a lucrative decision. But it didn't match the other areas, the heart areas, the relationship areas, the network areas, the being at home, the things about my personal self. It did not. So if you're looking at this board every day and you're seeing it and you're calling it to action for yourself and you're able to do your checks and balances, you should be taking your decisions back to your board. That's where they are. That's why it's important that it means something to you. That's why it's important that the day that you're doing it, that you're really, really excited, not in a bad place, so that when you are in a bad place and you go to the board reminds you of the day. Like, even there's time frames I've stood in the corner, which is where mine is I had to close my eyes and then remember the day that I was actually putting that thing on up there that was really, really frustrating at that moment and at that day. But I remembered, okay, this right here has another plan. And do you see me now here smiling and really, really excited? I'm telling you, it was all due to the things that I called out in the very beginning that I knew from that happy place that were going to keep me there. So now I'm showing with you what you're supposed to do with the board every day. Then also too, I like to couple this. So this right here is my journal. I even bought me a different one today. I was like, this year, I don't know what it is. I'm acting like texture is just huge. Like furs and jewels and leather, and it's just really calling me and it's making me happy. So what I did was I spent some time today to go get me a journal. This is leather that's on here, right? And I was like, okay, this makes me happy to be able to write in this. So every single day with your journal, what you want to do is journal your day. Like, from your categories, for me, I have 6. You want to go back and you want to journal. And I loved in this one, it had the date, it had the year. You want to journal for yourself, your categories. Like, what did you do in what category? For me, I would write the category. So if today was personal development is something I talk about all the time that I do every single day for myself. Everyone should do it every single day. It is not something that you get to a place and then you say, hey, I don't need to do this. That's where growth stops. So every single day was for me to get more in depth with my personal development, not just to stay on a certain series, but to do multiple series, right? So if I was doing my personal development category, I would write personal development and journal about that area, if that was for the day. Or like the workout. Y'all saw me lose weight again this year, and that was a frustrating category, and it was one of my bigger categories in which I had, because I was like, hey, I'm turning 40. I don't want this stuff on my body. I really got to be able to deal with it. So I would go into that area, and I found when I went back through my last year journal, I talked about that a lot, but I was also too able to get myself through that a lot with what I was doing in personal development. And even also too, the things that I was doing in business. So I'm using myself as an example right now, just to get your brain to think like, how can I do that? Even too, there's 3 things that are on my board that I actually did better than the board, but it was because of that every day. So what you're doing is you're taking your board, you're plastering your board on up so you can see it in a visible area. Every single day you are going to the board. Okay, remember, it was imperative that you do it when you're in your happy place, because that's what you need to remember every single day. Because believe me, every day will not be happy, but the day that you did that board, you were, and you have to remember the reasons and why you actually did it. Then number 3, you are to journal in your categories. This is what's going to keep you in an orderly fashion to be able to get everything that you have on the board to be done. Also, just some personal notes. You heard me say how I had to go back to the board. In making decisions, anytime in which you decide that you're going to make, I don't care what it is, if it's a personal decision, if it's a business decision, whatever decision that it is, you want to make sure whatever decision that you do make, you make it from a place of happy. You make it from a place of being really, really excited. In the event that you find that you're frustrated, you're angry, you're really pissed off about something, that is not the time to make a decision. Because at that time, you're not really using your brain. You're using your emotions. And 9 times out of 10, when you're making that decision out of that emotion, it's not the best one for you. That's why it's really important to write things out from a place, from a high level of state of, this is what I want, this is what I desire. So therefore, you can use them as checks and balances. Okay? So once you get this all done, guess what you're able to do? So in the beginning of this, I shared with you that January 7th, I was opening up my calendar to start taking back in more clients. January 7th, to be able to work with me as a personal development coach, as a personal development business coach, or also too in weight loss. Now, let me explain the weight loss, because I am in an amazing company called It Works, and I do sell products. However, that is not weight loss coaching. Weight loss coaching with me is dealing with the psychoanalysis reasons of why you're actually holding on to weight. Those things that you have to get over. Like, say for instance, you get to the gym and you sit there and you watch everybody else and then you go home. Or you can't seem to stay consistent, or you're literally sitting with a piece of candy and you're like so frustrated with yourself, because I've been in these spaces where you're so frustrated you just ate it anyway, and then there's so much guilt that's afterwards, and you cannot figure out why you're compelled to constantly overeat. That is what I work with, just so you know. My weight loss coaching has nothing to do with the actual products themselves. It had everything to do with the person that's there that really needs the help to be able to get over through to the next level. And I use boards for different manners. I use them for people who are looking in their business. If they're looking to open or design a new business, we may use a board. It doesn't necessarily have to be a visual board this way. It could be a digital, where we call everything to action, like where are we going in the business. I love to not only just do, I guess I'm not a person that loves business plans. I like business maps. maps tell you where you're going and when you're supposed to be there and when you can make decisions. So I love to use them that way. And then also too, in personal development, I call it personal development. Most people call it life coaching. If you just really need to, maybe the timing of things are wrong. Like, I can never stay on track. I can never stay in orderly fashion. Like, I'm so frustrated. Why can't I do those things? Like, everything else is in front of me. Like, we have for me, I have an amazing business opportunity that I am in with my team, right? And if you're like, oh my God, why is this amazing thing that's here, but I can't seem to pull myself together to go get it? Those are areas of personal development that I actually work with people with. Now, what I am offering, once your board is complete, you are able to, and I put them on the area before, like above, if you see the title of this, you are going to be able to, and I forgot what the name of it was. Give me 1 second. It is the vision, no spaces. If you text the vision to 555-888, you are going to get an auto replay of this, so you can keep it for yourself for future years to be able to come. And then you're also going to get a complimentary 30-minute personal development session with me, where we're actually going to go over your board. We're going to talk about some things in which you want to call to action for yourself, and we're going to work together. So if you know me, I love people. I like to work with people, and I really love to be able to help people catch the best versions of themselves. So even everything in which I've done in my careers, through beauty, through wellness, and also through personal development, through coaching, have just really been about getting a person to their next level for them, and to stop them from comparing. Because that's not what it's about. What it's really about is finding out where you are right now, and then how do you get to where you're going. And usually what happens is sometimes when people are watching others, or measuring per age, or I'm supposed to be married by now, I'm supposed to do this, or I'm in this business and I can't understand how this person came in and they're doing this, but I can't get that together. I teach you how to funnel that, where if you take one step if you took one step, what's the next step behind that? And then once we get to that benchmark, how do we get to the next benchmark? Because everyone's benchmarks are different. We all come in here different. Even when you look in a garden and you plant all the flowers, any gardeners here? You ever go back and they do not bloom at all at the same time frame? Somewhere along the line, with how fast social media or technology has gotten, we've started to put a lot of unnecessary pressures on our own selves about what we're supposed to be doing and what our individual design is. And that's why a lot of anxiety we see, or depression, or that's the reason why it's here, is because of not understanding those things. So where I know my passion is in helping in that, it's given my heart huge desire to be able to do it even more, to create a life of yourself where that is what you do, and being able to make other people feel happy and even also yourself in the same is amazing. So what I want you to do is text the vision. So you're going to text the vision to 555-888, and you're going to get the replay, and then you are going to get a link to as well to be able to set up your free session. Woohoo! Just for tuning in today. So Happy New Year, everybody. I hope this has really, really helped you. I hope this has put you in a space of, even too, if you thought you were, which I know I've done these before, and they'd be like, girl, I thought I was about to go this whole direction, and you took me a whole nother manner. That now maybe even you want to put more work into it. Or now you even, like people were talking right now about doing the quarter boards. Maybe you were sitting down about to do your year board, but you heard that and you said, now I'm about to actually break it apart. So I hope this helps you. So let's have an absolutely amazing rest of the evening for New Year's Eve. And I wish all of you a happy new year for tomorrow. So thank you all so much for tuning in.